So, today we're diving into something that sounds like it's straight out of a spy movie, giving superyachts their very own, completely self contained artificial intelligence. We're not talking about an AI that lives up in the cloud somewhere. We're talking about a true digital brain that lives right there in the hull of the ship, working 24/7, even when you're in the absolute middle of the ocean. Let's get into why this floating brain is making some serious waves.
Here's what we're going to cover. First up, we'll look at why the cloud is, surprisingly, not very seaworthy. Then we'll get into the brilliant solution of putting all that intelligence directly on board. We'll also break down the nuts and bolts of how this digital brain is actually built. And we'll finish up by looking at the incredible new wave of AI this tech is unleashing. Just take a look at this. I mean, wow. The bridge of a modern superyacht is nothing short of a technological marvel. It is a floating command center, absolutely packed with radar, sonar, satellite navigation, all of it feeding into dozens of screens. You're really looking at the absolute pinnacle of maritime tech today. But here's the catch, the big paradox. For all this incredible sophistication, what happens to those smart features when the satellite link inevitably drops? What if all this brilliant technology just goes dumb the second it leaves the harbor? That is the fundamental problem we're going to unpack right now.
And that leads us right into our first big topic. The cloud isn't seaworthy. So why exactly is relying on some remote server a terrible idea for a critical system when you're out on the open ocean? Well, there are three huge, and I mean huge, deal breakers. First, it's just basic reliance. You lose that satellite connection, and poof, your smart assistant is now just a paperweight. Second, and this is absolutely critical for safety, is latency. To avoid a collision or spot a danger, you need a decision in milliseconds. Waiting for a signal to bounce off a satellite, go to a server farm, and come all the way back, it's just dangerously slow. And finally, privacy. Let's be real. For the owners of these vessels, sending private conversations and security camera feeds to some third-party server is a non-starter. It's an unacceptable risk.
Okay, so if the cloud is a total no-go, what's the alternative? Well, that brings us to the solution, putting the intelligence directly on board the vessel itself. This is where local AI changes the game.
Now, AI inference might sound super technical, but stick with me, the concept is actually pretty simple. Think of it like this. If training an AI is like studying for a big exam, then inference is the AI actually taking the test. It's applying all that knowledge to new, live data to make smart decisions right here in the real world. It's the AI in action. And when you put them side by side, the benefits are just staggering. With local AI, that latency we talked about drops from seconds down to milliseconds. For cybersecurity, the data never leaves the ship. That just slashes the risk. And reliability? It just works. 100% of the time, internet or not. The difference is truly night and day.
There's a company at the forefront of this movement called Infeedity, and their motto just perfectly captures the whole mission. Data sovereignty, which means you own and control your information. Zero latency for instant real-time decisions. And total intelligence. Intelligence that works anywhere, anytime, with zero compromises.
So we get the why. Now for the really cool part, the how. We're going to pop the hood and take a look at the architecture of this digital brain. All right, let's trace the flow here. You can see data coming in from all of the yacht sensors. All of that feeds into the heart of the system, this thing called the AI orchestrator. You can think of it as the system's consciousness. It decides what's important, and then it routes that information to specialized AI models for specific jobs, like navigation or being a personal assistant. It really is the central nervous system of the entire ship.
This whole thing breaks down into a really clear 5-step process. It all starts with data acquisition, as the sensors are gathering data in real time. Then comes data processing, where that raw data gets cleaned up and made usable. Next is the AI orchestration, where the AI models do the actual thinking. That decision is then sent out during the application step. And finally, it's all presented to the crew through a simple, clean user interface. From sensor to screen, the whole process happens in milliseconds.
And look, this isn't just some abstract software floating around in the ether. This is the physical brain. All of that incredible processing power is housed in these rugged, marinized servers, which just means they're built to handle the heat, the vibration, and the salt of a marine environment, and they're located right there on the vessel. Okay, so you have this super smart brain on your yacht. What can you actually do with it? That brings us to our final section, where we'll look at this new wave of AI applications and some of the very real challenges that are still ahead. The applications here are honestly straight out of science fiction. Imagine an invisible butler, a voice assistant that's completely private because it never, ever connects to the internet. Or think about an augmented lookout that uses AI-powered cameras to spot dangers in the water way faster than any human ever could. It can even do predictive maintenance by listening to the engines to catch a failure before it happens. And it even helps with energy management for more sustainable green yachting. It's incredible stuff.
But, it's not all smooth sailing. You got to be realistic, right? A closer look at the strategy shows that while the potential is massive, the challenges are pretty significant too. The super high cost of developing this rugged hardware is a major hurdle, and you can bet that the big established marine electronics companies are watching this very closely and could become fierce competitors. But here's the bottom line. Despite those hurdles, the core value here is it's undeniable. For this very specific market, the promise of absolute privacy and complete independence from any network connection is the ultimate game changer. That's what it all comes down to. And that leaves us with one last big thought to chew on. These super yachts are basically acting as these high-tech test beds for a brand new kind of AI, one that's local, private, and incredibly resilient. So, if local AI can make a ship in the middle of the ocean truly autonomous and secure, what does that mean for the future of our cars, our homes, and maybe even our cities? The revolution might just be starting out at sea.